It's me. My hair's a mess as usual because, as usual, it's about 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm sure some of you are wondering why I do it this time in the morning. Well, it's usually because this is the time when Judas leaves, so I'm not bothering him by doing this. And also because it's apparently my most productive time of the night, so haha. This video is going to be about depression. Luckily, I'm not actually in one of my low moments, so I won't have too mean of a tone when I'm talking about this. I'm gonna discuss some phrases actually. I'll go into the myth of depression in a later video, but right now I'm just gonna go with some things that you should never say to someone who has depression if you yourself do not have depression. By that I mean if you aren't diagnosed with depression, do not say these things. Okay? Alright. So the next point, I guess I'm just gonna go straight in, is if you do not have depression, if you haven't been diagnosed with depression, you have not been depressed. Okay, depression does not equal sadness. And it's not okay to say that you have been depressed. Okay, there are people like me who suffer from depression, and some of us have been suicidal. We have wanted to end our lives since we were very young children. I remember the earliest thought, the very first time I ever considered seriously killing myself, I was only like 9 years old. Okay, you can't understand what that feels like if you don't have depression. So please do not ever say that. Besides that, depression kills motivation. It kills your drive no matter how hard you try. You don't want to do anything. I'm actually very excited to learn Spanish, and I've been trying to teach myself Spanish, and I can't. I'll have 3 or 4 days in a row, I'm just on it, and I don't stop. And then for weeks on end afterwards, I can't get myself to do anything. And it's that way with everything that I want to do. I will start a project and I will not finish it because of my depression. Another thing that you don't want to say is it's all in your head. Depression is not in your head. Depression is a chemical imbalance in your brain. And if we were able to get over it, we would, okay? We do not want to end our lives. We don't want to feel so unhappy. We don't want to cry. We don't want to be so angry and apathetic to those around us. We don't want to be like this. And if we could change it, we would. So please don't ever say to anyone who has depression, oh, you should just get over it. It does not work that way. I know some people do care, and they're trying to empathize when they say things like, oh, I've been depressed too. I understand what you're trying to do when you're saying that, but it's a really, really just bad idea. If you really want to show someone with depression that you care about them, sometimes if they're like me, they don't like taking advice. I actually really hate taking advice, and I hate people giving me advice because it makes me feel like they're acting like my mother, and my mother didn't raise me. And I don't like people pretending to be my parent in any way. And when you give me advice, I often feel that you are acting like you're my parent. So instead of telling them what to do, instead of acting like, oh, they can just get better, instead of thinking that meds are the answer, because believe it or not, medication does not, in fact, cure depression. It does not cure. There is no cure for depression. Medication is a crutch. It is something you hold on to keep going through this long-ass life that you have to fight these thoughts in 80-some years of living about. Yeah, it's a medication just helps you get through those days. But it does not cure depression. And like I said, there is no cure. So don't tell someone, oh, well, maybe you aren't on the right medication. Or, oh, maybe you don't have the right therapist. Maybe they don't, but that's still not going to solve their depression. Don't try to tell them what you think you know when you don't. Okay? If you really want to help someone who has depression, if they are the type of person who likes being hugged, give them hugs. Okay? Give them your company. Maybe they don't want to talk. Just give them your company. Show them that you are there for them. And in the end, that's all that's going to matter, is knowing that somebody cares. And if they're talking about suicide in front of you, no, don't go calling the fucking cops. That shit terrifies us. And some of us, it might push over the edge, okay? Give us the hotline number to call ourselves, alright? Otherwise, no, don't ever call the cops on your friend. Unless you know for a fact that you cannot stop them yourself and that the cops have a better chance, then yes, that's the only time you should ever call the cops on someone who is threatening suicide. It's important to note that the best thing you can possibly do for them is just say, hey, I'm here. And if it's 3 a.m. in the morning and I'm dead tired, call me. And I will listen to you cry your eyes out. I will listen to you rant about that bitch you hate at work. Anything to get the person back under the brink of suicide. Do not shame them if they cut their wrists or if they cut anywhere on their body. Do not shame them for that. There's actually a study showing that helps them not to commit suicide. And you can look that up on Google if you really can't figure it out. I might provide a link if I can actually find the link for it, because I remember reading it back in high school. And it made sense to me because I'm a cutter too. Now, the best thing I can say, really, when it comes to someone struggling with depression, is that sometimes they want to be alone, and they'll withdraw. They will stop talking. That's okay. Give them their space if they need it. But I don't know how to say this. If the person you know who is struggling with depression is talking about giving their stuff away, like, oh, if I were to die, I would give this to you. If they're actually willing their stuff away, and if they're out loud speaking about suicide, it is not a joke. It is not a joke at all. It is more serious than you know, because talking is one of the biggest signs that they are very close to going through with it. Not everybody goes through with it at the right... I messed that sentence up. Not everybody goes through with their suicide attempt. And like I said, I've attempted more than 30 times in my life. There's only one time I ever actually went through with it, and that was in 2012 when I overdosed. A lot of the time, a suicidal person is trying to kill themselves, but they can't go through with it because the human body's survival instinct won't let them. You try dropping an electric utensil into your bathtub while you're in the bath. Tell me how hard it is for you to let go of that utensil into the water. Don't actually do that, by the way. Please don't. That's just stupid. But the point is, if you've ever tried to actually harm yourself, it's one of the hardest things in the world because you are fighting yourself. And if someone is talking about it and they have access to a gun or any quick and painless means to commit suicide, get them away from it. If there is a gun in the house with someone who is suicidal, hide that gun. Tell their parents. It doesn't matter if they never forgive you, you are going to save their life. Tell their parents, warn their parents if you know that they're actually serious about it. Especially if you see someone with depression being bullied. Okay? It doesn't take a lot to push someone over the edge. I like to call it the feather on the weight. It's when the weight of this world is on your shoulders from all the shit adding up in your mind, and one little thing will make you snap. Anyway, these are things to do to try and help those who don't have depression to understand what to do, okay? To recap all of it, the best thing you can do is be there for them. Call the cops only if necessary, but don't be afraid to do so. Tell their parents, if they're young, tell their parents, or tell their family members, anybody who is really close to them, tell them. They may hate you for it. I hated a couple of my friends for doing that, but it will save their life in the end. And to those who have depression out there watching this right now, I can tell you personally, especially if you're still in high school, I know the crushing weight that comes from high school. Let me tell you now, and I know you've heard this from everyone, so let me tell you personally, as someone suffering with depression, it will get better. Okay, my suicidal thoughts used to be once a day, at least. At their worst, I was trying 3 times a day to kill myself. Now, I haven't been suicidal in months. And when it does happen, it's there only until I take a nap, and then it's gone. So I can tell you it does get better. Stay strong, keep your hope, okay? And if you're stubbornly thinking that you shouldn't go see someone, please talk to someone about it. I know you don't want to. I know it can be physically hard to actually talk, but accepting that you need help is part of the biggest process of healing. And I can tell you I went to therapy for 2 years, and I became introspective enough over that time. I became able to look in on myself and see what was the root of my problems that I could have done anything about myself. That I began changing my life for myself. And let me tell you, it saves your life. It really does. Therapists are like shoes. You have to find the right ones that fit you. They aren't all very nice. I went through 3 therapists. I was lucky to only have to go through 3 before I found my favorite. But some of them don't do their jobs. They're just sociable. They say, oh, well, how'd your day go? And I mean, yes, that's important, but they don't ask you any questions to prompt you. And by that I mean they don't do that how does that make you feel bullshit. They actually ask, let's say I said, well, I'm upset. And they said, why are you upset? And I said, well, there's a bunch of things. What makes you most upset? Well, me and Judas were having a fight, and I broke my music player. Okay, well, what can you do about those? I'm not sure. Well, you can always get a new music player, or accept that you can't change that, and be okay with it, and just find a different way to listen to music, like on your phone. And with Judas, what were you fighting about? I said the wrong thing. Then go back to him. What do you think you should do? What would you do if you could go back to that moment? Clarify. Restate what I said. State it the way I meant to say it. And there you go. Prompting questions. Things that make you think. Find a therapist who is good for you, who helps you know what you have to do. Anyway, that's this video on depression. I don't know why I just did that. Whatever. The next one will be on myths about depression and why they aren't true. Alright.